If the commissioners were to find a use that could be housed in the extraneous wings, they are to find that use and go to contract for that use prior to October 1st. Also, any renovations to those wings for another use by another tenant that they were to identify and go to contract, those funds have to come completely from that new tenant. If none of those, if history proves that we haven't been able to do that in the past, and by October 1st, that tenant does not come forward, then the wings will be demolished and the front of the building will be demolished. The reason there was some extra time added in, Bonnet, Page, and Stone said that it was not essential for the wings to be demolished at day one, that they would move on the things that need to be done first. But by a time period somewhere in the area of 6 months, they were going to need to get down to their final building. So demolition could happen anywhere in that period. We allowed as a courtesy for the commissioners, if they find a profit-making source there, that was still available.
So I just have a question. If we find X person that wants a wing and are willing to rehab that wing for their purposes, paying for it, then that wing would not be demolished. Is that what you're saying?
100%, no taxpayer money.
Okay, all right. Representative Babson.
Yeah, a couple of things, Madam Chair. That cooperative extension coming down here would have to pay the estimated $300,000 for renovation. Is that correct, Representative McConkey?
That's not what the motion says. The motion refers to 100% of the cost of the other buildings would have to be borne by the renter.
Well, my recollection of the subcommittee meeting was that renovation of the space where you would consider putting the cooperative extension was not going to be paid for by the county.
Correct, that is not. We're providing space to be, but the envelope, to make the envelope usable, is not included in our motion for $980,000.
But just for the record, if the cooperative extension were to move down here or wanted to, they would have to pay the $300,000 renovation fee.
No.
$300,000 would have to be raised from some other method than the $980,000.
Okay. And my second question,
Yeah.
follow-up question. Also, this $980,000 does not include architectural fees or something else. I forget what it was, but there were two.
The soft costs of the project are included in the $980,000, which are architects and design,
Okay.
a standard fee.
Item 12 on your, in item 12. is where
Well,
that's-
there were two things that Randy mentioned when he was here that weren't included in the cost and weren't on this page, as I recall. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe one of them was design. And the other question I have is...
Wait a minute, before you go to that one, let's clear this one up. Representative Umberger or McConkey, do you have any idea?
I
what
refer to
Representative
Representative Umberger.
Yeah, just basically, the soft cost figure that was in there includes
Okay.
anything. There's no extra money for that.
Okay.
And that's why we worded it, we appropriate $980,000,
Okay.
okay? Because the appropriate means that's what you can spend.
And so what has happened is that for all of the work that Bonnet, Page, and Stone has put into it, as of right now, we have not charged and they have not charged us for answering all of the questions of the subcommittee. If you go out for bid, which I assume you're going to do for the 980, if Bonnet, Page, and Stone does not bid on this, will they get 120? They will get amount of money for all of the engineering stuff that they had done prior to somebody else coming out.
That's my understanding, that if they don't get the bid, however, they think they've got the bid already.
Yes, but
That's the
if,
problem I have. I don't know what has been done with the delegation
okay. and-
regarding,
And at this moment in time, I just want to, wait just a minute, Representative Babson, I'll get there. I just want to be sure that everybody realizes that for what we have been asking of Bonnet, Page and Stone for the time that we have discussed this, is probably $125,000 worth of work.
No.
oh, I don't think so.
No, no,
No,
No.
no.
Okay, so.
I don't know, we haven't got a bill for it. All they said was if they don't do the job, then they're gonna charge for whatever they've done for commissioners and the subcommittee.
And that's soft cost.
I don't know where that's gonna come from.
It's gonna come out of the
Okay, wait a minute, wait a minute.
$980,000.
Representative Babson, Algren, and Umberger.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. But that's exactly the problem. If they don't get it, they're going to bill us for the work they've done, which is fairly extensive, and they're going to take a large portion of, or a portion of the $125,000. The new person is going to have to do the design work. They haven't done any design work. There's no blueprints, there's no nothing, and that's going to have to be paid for over and above. And I don't see, if they don't get the job, how we're going to do it for $125,000 in soft costs, because it has to be re-engineered. They've gone around, they've looked, and they've given us these ideas. There isn't one blueprint, there is nothing to do with the construction of the job available, and that will have to be done by somebody, either the by the engineering concern or the architect or somebody. Who's going to be additional cost.
Okay, Representative McConkey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In response to Representative Babson, the subcommittee did not ask the commissioners to come forward with a plan. The commissioners apparently went to Bonnet, Page and Stone. I'm aware of no contract between the commissioners and Bonnet, Page and Stone. Bonnet, Page and Stone came up with scenarios, and I'm sure Bonnet, Page and Stone is hoping that they're going to be the eventual contractor. But it was not the subcommittee's position who's paying and what if anything they're entitled to. I would suggest that the soft costs that they brought forward were nothing more than a straight percentage, which is an industry standard. If the commissioners feel that if they did not move forward, and I would hope that it's a competitively bid process going forward, that's what I would expect as a resident of Carroll County, that it would then be the commissioners if they felt compelled. But I'd ask the commissioners, do you have a contract with Bonnet, Page and Stone to provide you with a service?
No.
Can I say something? I believe there was $15,000 and they were going to take the money there out. And I believe they already paid EJA like $6,000 or $7,000 out of the $15,000. So they will get what is left over.
Commissioner Sorensen, Archer,
I'd
would you
refer-
say that again, because I didn't, where did you get the $15,000?
I believe there was $15,000 for the estimates for looking at the old nursing home. And EJA gets $6,000 or $7,000 for that already.
EG&A, who is the architect
Yeah,
firm.
they took $6,000 or
And that
$7,000. So
15
there's still money left there.
That is correct.
And that $15,000 is what came out of extensions money that they passed back
Correct.
to us, right?
Correct.
To be able to do that. So
Yep.
we do have a running account of how much the extension has already paid for whatever is
For EGA,
happening.
we do have.
Whatever is happening over at the new nursing home. We do have that, a running total
For the old nursing home.
for the old nursing home.
Yeah,
Because when we did a feasibility study way back then, we used extensions money.
that's
So
right.
we do know that whatever is going to happen, Extension has already put money into that building. Okay, and the $15,000 is left over from that. EGA has gotten about $6,000 or $7,000,
Yeah.
and there is $8,000 that somewhere that we already approved for you to spend.
And I
To
thought
be
those
able
were
to-
for the estimates for PBS, because EG and PBS were going to have those estimates and coming with a plan what we're going to do for the old nursing home.
And this is the plan of, this is the this is what we are getting for March 14th, okay, of that memo from Bonnet Page and Stone.
So I'd just further suggest that there is my understanding from the subcommittee, we didn't authorize any monies to be spent, and neither did this delegation.
And I do not know where Bonnet Page and Stone has the idea that they already have a contract. And I'm gonna go out of space, Commissioner Solomon, then I'll come back to the delegation.
I'd just like to point out that back in, I think it was 2010, the building committee for the old nursing home did interview several different companies, among which was Bonnet Page and Stone. And they were unanimously chosen from those people to be the people who would go ahead and make the design and work on the old nursing home changes.
Initial building committee,
Correct.
the initial one, not the one that you appointed.
Correct.
No, the one that I sat on.
Yes.
And, okay, that, I'm gonna have to work on that one, but Representative Algren, Umberger, McCarthy, and McConkey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do believe that Commissioner Kinney is correct in her recollections that we appropriated some money already for the work that they've done. And what they're saying is they're not going to charge us if they get the contract, and that would be rolled into this $125,000. So,
Yes,
We
and they
appro-
told us that when they were looking, yes, I remember that.
okay, so I mean that, as far as paying for what the work they've done so far, we've already, there's like around $8,000 for that, and it's probably gonna cost about that much or a little less, I would assume. In respect to Representative Babson's recollections is, there was mention of the soft cost, but that was, each highlighted item didn't include the soft cost. So when we pick those out, they're just pointing out to us that that did not include the soft cost, so we must choose item 12 for the soft costs. So when we put it together, so your recollections, I believe, are somewhat correct, that they did talk about it, but the soft costs are covered in number 12. So I think also that the $300,000 for the cooperative extension within the motion, we can entertain at a later time. That we're not saying that the cooperative extension, we're certainly not saying that we expect cooperative extension to come up with $300,000 if we put them into that space. But what we are saying is that the spaces within this proposal that are to be demolished, that anyone who is to come in, that they will be responsible for any build-out cost. That the county is not going to appropriate money to build it out in those predisposed demolished areas in accordance with the plan. And I think that covers the ground, except for at the very beginning of the meeting, we had some comments from the public regarding what we were doing today. What we're doing today will be to give the commissioners the permission to go forward for build-out plans based on this money. And then once we see those plans is when we will actually okay and approve of what those plans are. So we're not, and what they do is they go through, that part of each individual section goes through a bidding process. And what happened with the current new nursing home is when we were at this very similar stage, and we got presentations, and now we were just waiting for a final plan before we voted for the bond, okay, was that the commissioners, I believe, selected from that point who was going to get the contractor's position based on the finalized plans. So Bonnet, Page, and Stone might give us the finalized plans, but then we hire a general contractor to execute the plans. That could be Bonnet, Page, and Stone. It could be somebody else. So I know I covered a lot of ground there, but I figured that's where we were at, and I could bring all those points up. And I thank you for the time.
Yes, Representative Umberger.
I let Representative McConkey speak.
Well, Representative McCarthy is up first, and then we'll go back to Representative McConkey and Fleck. And Mr. Brown, wait until just a minute. Can we just not have an awful lot at the moment? We are trying to work through this. Thank you. Representative McCarthy.
Thank you, thank you, Madam Chair. I remember sitting right here when the representative from Bonner Page and Stone was up there and he said words to the effect that, hey, we're just doing this, we're trying to help you out. We're consulting, we're trying to do something for you to help the county. Now, I took that, okay, we're gonna do this, hoping that we get the contract. But there was nothing that said, yeah, you can do it because you got the contract. They said they were doing it to help the county out, they were gonna consult for us and draw up these plans. That doesn't mean they're gonna get the contract, and I would hope that it be broken down into piecemeal, one for the roof, one for demolition, one for rebuilding. 3 separate contracts go out for competitive bids.
Thank you. Representative McConkey.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and just to follow up on Representative McCarthy, I would think there would also be a separate contract award to who is to be the clerk and oversee the whole project, whether it be Bonnet, Page, and Stone, or some other equally competent group of people. I just wanted to respond earlier to, it is my understanding that this delegation was bound to listen to recommendations of the new nursing home subcommittee, that we've concluded that work. And now we have appointed a subcommittee for the old nursing home. So if there was selections made on who should oversee the project of the new nursing home, that's ceased and done. That committee did excellent work, and they've taken care of that charge. We're now moving forward. Bonnet, Page, and Stone has never been appointed by this subcommittee or this delegation. So it is my extreme hope that the commissioners are not, they told us they don't have a contract and that they're not bound to any financial obligation at this point in time. Wanted to make that clear.
Okay, Representative Fleck.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd like to get back to the financial arrangement or potential financial arrangement between the co-op extension and the county in terms of the...
Point of order. That's not in the motion, and it's outside the scope of what we're trying to talk about. Yes, it is.
I would agree.
Because we are not, we're not even, all we said is that if the wings were going to be demolished, the people had to pay for it. We made no statement whatsoever about the 3,000 square feet inside.
Okay, I disagree, because at the outset of the presentation, there was a discussion about the core that would remain and how that might be utilized. And I think that's germane to the whole concern about what we're talking about.
If I could.
Representative Algren and then Representative Umberger.
Thank you. Do we have a copy of the motion to be distributed?
No, maybe it would be a good idea if somebody would get us copies down in the office. Thank you very much.
And
Thank you, Sandy.
thank you very much, just because it is pretty lengthy. But the one part of the motion that I think I would offer up an amendment for would be that the demolition of the building, we're saying it cannot begin until October 1st. And I don't think the commissioners have any intention to begin the demolition of the building while they're endeavor to try to find other uses. I don't think we need to worry about them starting it early. However, I do believe what would be a concern of the delegation was that they commence the demolition of the remaining parts of the nursing home on October 1st to give them a direct order stating when it should begin, as opposed to saying it shall not begin until the October 1st, because I believe that would legally imply that they could begin any time after that of the demolition of the building, of those parts of the building. So I believe if it's our intention that we just keep 10,000 feet of the core unless we can find something within the next, whatever it is, till October 1st, that the motion be reworded that the demolition is to commence on October 1st, but shall not commence before October 1st.
When we get the motion, because I think we had the word before, but let's get the motion to do that. Representative Umberger and then Representative Merrill. and
Yes,
Representative McCarthy.
two things. The motion says that the commissioners should pursue finding tenants for the 3,000 square feet. Okay, it may not say it in those words, but that's what it says.
I thought they were only looking for tenants for the wing.
Absolutely not.
Well, it's nice to know, but it
Okay.
looks like that when I asked the question. Mr. Brown, can you just wait until we have, I will get to you, but we need to have this discussion, and the more we have from anybody else, the more confused again. No, I am not going to listen to you. Representative Umberger, would you please continue?
It says in there that they will seek tenants for the 3,000 square feet. Okay?
And until we get the motion, we can't figure out what it is, so go ahead and make your point.
Okay,
Includes the
and
wing.
so what they do with that doesn't have a 1 October deadline. Okay? That is ongoing till whenever. And it doesn't say in the motion anything about potential tenants, or if in fact we get a tenant, that the county may indeed want to help them or assist them in remodeling. Okay, or some arrangement for remodeling of that area. But we are basically telling the delegation, telling the, whoever is the contractor to do this, to leave that space for potential tenants. And I think that we made that very clear, and we tried not to muddy the water with potential tenants. We wanted to leave that out so that we weren't running up against any number of issues dealing with whether or not it was a co-op, whether or not it was probate, whether or not it was somebody else. And I think that that's, or abused children, whatever that particular organization is, or any number of other organizations. So we're not looking to make any decisions about that. And if you'll look, it says the commissioners are also authorized to seek tenants for the approximately 3,000 square feet of unfinished space. Down the second to the last sentence.
All right, Representative Merrill.
I guess I'm partial because I was on the committee, but I think this is fine, the way it's written. The only thing that you might want to do, which might make it a little clearer, maybe, is take the last sentence and stick it up when you're talking about the wing, because I think we very clearly said that the commissioners have to have, if they're going to rent this, have to have a contract to us by October 1st for the wings and the front. And they obviously can't tear it down until October 2nd, because we may not get it until October 1st. So to me, that's very clear. And then they're going to fill the other, but there wasn't a time limit on that. And I guess if you can assume that this last sentence will apply to a time limit on the 3,000 square feet, then it ought to be moved or
No.
changed, because that was not what we said.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And I guess we should mention that Representative Patton suggested that probably the 15th of October was a little bit too close to the election, which was our original date, and so we agreed to move it back to the 1st.
And I think the contractor, or not the contractor, but the people we were talking to said that was a reasonable time
Right.
based on what we were going to do.
October 15th is only like 2.5 weeks
Yeah.
before election,
Yeah.
and, we're all in the same mode of doing what we need to do to run for these crazy places that we run for. Representative McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to mention, and I mentioned it at the subcommittee meeting, and I believe the chair of the commission was all for it. He said, he did say, I agree. With that space that's left over, 1,500 feet of it approximately is where the kitchen is. The other 1,500 feet is where the old dining room was. And it's hoped that sometime in the near future, the county is going to bring on a purchasing agent. And if he does, he's gonna need office space, and he's gonna need a lot of storage space to buy things in bulk, and then be able to hand it out to the different entities of the county. And hopefully we'll save that space where the dining room is right now for a purchasing agent and his office and storage space. I just thought I'd bring that up.
Okay, yes, Representative
Yeah,
Merrill.
we did discuss this, and I think that we didn't make a decision on it. I think the decision we made was pretty much is what is said in here. And my own feeling is, once we've made the decision to tear this down, and once we've made the decision to leave the core alone, then it's a commissioner's job to fill that core with whatever they need, not the job of this delegation, which would be micromanaging.
Except the motion says we have to approve any contract.
Well, okay, no,
prior
that's
to the
fine,
final-
but, no, that's fine,
finalizing
but I'm
budget.
talking about as far as
Okay.
allocating the space is
Okay.
concerned.
So we're probably gonna have to have a delegation meeting on the 2nd of October, that, close to that
Yeah.
Monday, so that we can approve if you've got anything.
Just
Yes.
a comment,
Representative
Madam
Carter.
Chair, I agree with you, sir,
Yeah.
except if there is an expense for any reason of $5,000 or more, then it becomes our responsibility.
I don't, no, I'm not disagreeing that, but they're the ones that put it together.
Exactly.
What did you say about $5,000 or more?
If there's an expense with the building of $5,000 or more, the delegation has to approve it.
That's an
I-
addition,
Has to be-
that's an additional expense to whatever we've already allocated.
Right, right.
Not within what we've allocated.
Hey, Mark,
I'm not,
can I collect that?
I'm not the commissioners have the authorization in statute to spend up to $5,000 without
Correct.
going for an RFP or bidding it out, whatever you
Right.
want to call it. If you choose and the commissioners vote in a public meeting to bypass the bid process, that is allowed to them, but I don't understand where you're saying over a $5,000, they've got to come to us. I don't know where you're getting that.
On any buildings, real estate, if there is an expense, selling it, buying it, fixing it, repairing it, changing it, amending it, if there's an expense of more than $5,000, it has to be approved by the delegation. The commission cannot do it on their own. It has to be approved.
Okay, so the $5,000 is you can choose not to go out to bid, but we still need to do that at $5,000, okay, all right.
No, it has to be an expense to the county. If it's an expenditure by somebody else, that's a different story. If it's an expense to the county, then it has to be approved by the delegation.
And it's not money that's already been approved either. It's money, any new money, any new expense.
Yeah, over and above,
Yeah, over and above
whatever we approve, anything over and above that, 5,000, we have to reapprove it.
Representative Knox and then Sorensen, Commissioner Sorensen, excuse me.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I guess I'm playing catch-up quite a bit here. I was unable to be at the 9th subcommittee meeting, and I've been trying to look over the minutes, and I did get the plan in an email. But I'm a little confused on the position of the delegation, I guess, or the subcommittee on whether the cooperative extension is playing any role or not. I get the feeling that there is 3,000 square feet that's up for whatever the commissioners or the delegation wants to do in the future, but no specific mention of that being a cooperative extension. Is that a correct reading?
Apparently, that's what the subcommittee does. This delegation can determine if we want to start talking about extension, not until after we get through with this,
Can I do
all
a
of this
follow-up?
follow-up.
It's somewhere in the discussion, the last 5 or 10 minutes, I heard something about cooperative extension monies being delegated in the past, and some of that have been used. How does that tie in with where we are here?
What I was talking about is that over a period of, about 10 years, Representative Babson, 8 years, when the